Hello guys, this is Sapphire Academy with Teen Wolf episode 3 review for the third season. Those type Fireflies I played last night, and I'm posting my video today. So anyway, the episode starts off for one with two kids, a boy and a girl, in a preserve in the Beacon Hills Preserve at the dark, hunting for fireflies. Now, my first question is, where did parents? Who lets their children hunt fly? I mean, I understand, kids want to hunt flies, put them in the jars where they look all pretty. But my thing is, where's the parents? These are little children in a preserve after dark. It's nighttime. Don't they know there could be rapists and killers out there? But no, let's go let the kids, hunt for fireflies, because it's perfectly safe in the middle of the woods where nobody can see them or hear them scream. Perfectly normal. Into it. So as the boy sort of is a little bit distant from his sister, he ends up seeing Boyd, who appears out of the darkness. Scary black dude who he is. Hey. And so the brother freaks out, grabs his sister, and ends up hiding in this metal shed. But the werewolf just picks it up and tosses it away like it was just a piece of paper. Like, I think this is gonna protect you, please. He is then distracted by a jar full of fireflies that rolls to a stop at his feet, and when he looks away after, he's, all mesmerized by the fireflies, the children are gone. Then we ran over to Scott, who's talking to Derek by phone, say that he lost Boyd and they should get to find him because obviously he's too strong for them to handle on their own. And the plan to meet up, they plan to meet up, but Scott has to drop his kids off her because he's the one that saved them. Then we go over to Lydia, who when we last saw her, she was in bed screaming, ah! So she goes to reach for a bottle of ibuprofen, but it's empty. So she screams like, "Mom, I'm going to the store," but her mom can't hear her because apparently she didn't even hear her child screaming like a lunatic earlier, which I think is which I find funny too, because your daughter is in the middle of the bed screaming like somebody's killing her, and nobody comes to her room. Like, really, what kind of parents lives in Beacon Hill? Maybe I should not. Maybe I should. What? Seriously, kids in the woods, the girl screaming in her bedroom. Nobody comes. Like, really? This is very bad parenting. Then she goes into the car. And she gets out of the car, she's on the phone, she's not really paying attention. And then she realizes that she's at the public pool near the Beacon Hills Preserve. And she sees something floating in the water, and she's like, tells her, please don't be dead, please don't be dead, please don't be dead. I only find out when she grabs it, it's a CPR dummy, the CPR dummy you use in the class, practice. Then she relaxes a little bit, then she realizes that her hands are, she got bloody hands. Then she follows the blood pooling on concrete, and she looks up to find the man's body propped in the lifeguard stand, and she screams. Ah! Back to Darren and Scott. They're trying to follow the tracks left by Boyd and Cora, and they realize that two out-of-control werewolves are sticking together. Scott relays the story of Boyd trying to rip the two kids apart and wonder aloud if they would do that to everyone they find. Derek says, yeah, everyone and anyone. They're not being picky. You know how long it's been since they had a full moon? Oh, no, they're not going to be picky. No. Then we could go over to Miss Allison chilling in her car at Beacon Hills Overlook that served as Scott and her meeting spot during their clandestine relationship in season 2. Then we go to a flashback to the bank vault from the previous episode. And we see that Scott told about Victoria Argent's attempt to kill him and had explained that Derek bit her while fighting to save him. Scott explains that he didn't tell her because he didn't want her murderous action to be the last memory that she had of a mother. Screw that. She tried it. Your mama told the boyfriend that, I'm gonna kill you if I see you sleep with my daughter again. And your grandpa was crazy. Just admit it. Your family is cuckoo, and your auntie killed all of Derek's family members, and not all of them was even freaking wares. So yeah, baby, just know I would have told her the truth. See, your family is crazy. The only one that seems to be sane is you and your daddy. Everybody else in your family seems to, got some loops missing out their Fruit Loops. Just saying. Derek ends up carrying what appears to be Erica's lifeless body and appears near to tears. Remembering all of this, Allison comes to a decision. She reaches into the glove box of a car and removes the airhead. Here she go, won't be Miss Tomb Raider. Well, not Tomb Raider, or whoever I could find a Miss, Green Arrow or something. I don't know. She got arrows. In a preserve, two girls are getting cozy. Caitlin has lit a number of candles. One is a tent. Why you need all those candles? Just seriously, that's a fire hazard. Is people asking to die in this episode? Like literally, that's a fire hazard. Candles, a tent. Huh? Is that smart? Oh God. She and her girlfriend Emily began to kiss. My mom was watching this with me last night. And she was like, "Oh my God, really, 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 a lesbian scene?" Because usually, lately, if you notice, in terms of a lot of movies, like a lot of movies or TV shows, they usually have a lesbian scene in there, and majority of the time, it has nothing to do with the plot whatsoever. It's just put in there. Put in there. If you've seen the movie, I'm gonna give the movie with Megan Fox where she becomes a demon and stuff, and there's that scene where she's making out her best friend. Has nothing to do with the plot whatsoever, but it's put in there. It's like, really? It's like, can I watch a movie without two chicks making out for some random reason? Oh God, it's just sometimes it's just annoying. But this happens to be part of the plot line, so this is okay. So suddenly, Emily notices thousands of bugs have settled outside a tent. Their shadows visible due to the bright moonlight outside. She screams and completely freaks out when she knows one of the bugs on the shoulders. Calm down, it's a bug. I think it was crickets. She's freaking out, so obviously she's not a bug person. She's not really an outdoorsy person. She then runs from the tent into the woods. Stupid. She trips and falls. I don't know if she tripped over arrows or wood, but hey. Then she's suddenly overwhelmed by a carpet of thousands of bugs. When they finally disperse, Emily is like gone. Then we go back to the tent where Caitlin is calling for Emily as Cora walks slowly toward her, breathing heavily. Suddenly, Isaac appears and attempts to subdue her. Cora then tosses him in a tree like, "Please get off me." Scott flies through the air, landing on Cora, both feet knocking to the ground. Derek arrives and growls loudly at her, and Cora flees. Derek and Isaac give chase while Scott stays behind to check on Caitlin and to warn her to get to safety as fast as she can. He then takes off after the others. We go over to Styles, who gets to the pool where Lydia's wedding. She shows him the dead guy, and he says that they need to call her dad. He is upset to learn that Lydia called 911 before calling him, because if this is a wolf situation, you're supposed to call him first. So he could, double check, probably get, figure out how to hide it, because you don't want people to know, hey, there's werewolves running around. Hey, yeah, Styles then calls Scott, who thinks Boyd and Cora are to blame, and asks Styles to go get a closer look at the wounds to find out if it was actually them who killed them. Because, you got to make sure, because you can't rule out people. I know there's wolves in the world, but you can't also rule out, crazy people, just saying. Styles notes that the dead man is wearing a purity ring, signifying that he is committed to remain a virgin until marriage. Then Scott is convinced Boyd and Cora to blame. Derek is doubtful, wondering how they got all the way to the other side of the woods because it makes no sense. I mean, you're fast, but y'all not that fast. You're not Superman. Or are you? Nowhere near where they have been tracking them, and so in the short, that's sometimes it's physically impossible, even for them. Scott will not be swayed. Driving home, the point that they killed an innocent, and he and Derek are to blame. Derek says it's his fault. No, it's Allison's fault. You know why? Because for one, nobody told her to undo that Wolfbane, trap circle thing. But no, she just had to touch it. After Derek said, "Don't touch it," what did she do? She touched it. Now she done let loose people. It's her fault. It's not Scott's fault. It's not Derek's fault. It's Allison's fault. That's whose fault it is. Is that broad's fault. Anyway. Scott wants to get help. Again, Derek is recruiting and said that they have Isaac to help them out, but Scott is insisting, saying they are too fast and too strong and too rapid for them to catch. Derek's like, we're going to catch them on their own. Isaac points out if they do catch him, they don't have a plan. They don't have pretty much don't have a plan. What, they're going to hold it until the sun comes up? And Derek suggests killing them. Scott says, Scott continues to push, saying killing them isn't the right thing to do, and Scott suggests they find someone who knows how to hunt werewolves. Over the sheriff's area, in the woods, Deputy Tara Graham and Sheriff Zelinsky are questioning Caitlin. She admits that she and Emily split a tab of the drug ecstasy, and the sheriff points out that MDMA can cause hallucinations and suggests that it might have been laced with something that the girl reports seeing glowing eyes, fangs, and claws. He sends her to a hospital in hopes of finding out exactly what she took. They also hope to get a better description of the three guys she saw. there in the woods. And the reason the girls took the drugs because it was Emily's first time. So you try to make it comfortable. But I don't know, I'm sure if taking drugs would make I mean, I know drugs kind of relax you out, but I'm just saying drugs in the middle of the woods, it's dark, nobody knows where you are. Kind of scary. I wouldn't suggest it. In a quiet conversation with the deputy, Sheriff Salensi doesn't seem completely ready to dismiss the girl's story of claws and fangs and saying he's sure she saw something. We go over to Chris Argent, who's loading groceries in his Toyota SUV. He drops on his bag, then one with a dozen eggs inside. He puts the bag and places it in the back. He spins around with his gun drawn on Scott, who has appeared behind him. So this is who he's going to ask for help, because who better to help hunt werewolves than a werewolf hunter, you know? Derek and Isaac's watching from the SUV, and Derek says he don't think it would work. Isaac then inquires about Cora, who's Derek's younger sister, in such a way that suggests that he might romantically be interested in her. Derek gives him that look like don't even try, dude. That's my sister. Don't even. And Isaac's like, oh, okay, too soon. Okay, got it. Too soon. I mean, she is a wolf. He's a wolf. Just saying. With the gun still pointing at Scott's head, Chris says he doesn't want help anyone related to Derek, and he doesn't even know this kid boy's last name. Scott corrects him and says that boy is his last name, and his first name is Vernon. Scott then asks about the gun, and Chris admits there's still some part of him that wants to shoot Scott. Well, this is not your fault. Your daughter fell in love with a werewolf. It's not like Scott was like, hey, make me a wolf. It's not his fault. And you can't be mad at Derek because your wife wanted to be all gung ho and get herself bit. She brought that upon herself. Just saying. Then lowers the gun and he speaks to him urgently, and he explains how Gerard brainwashed his daughter. And he says Scott's world decimated mine. He runs down the list of people he lost: his wife, father, and sister, and asks why would he ever step in foot in that world again. Granted, it's not a job. It's not like working at Walmart. And Scott tries to convince him that people are going to die, and Chris knows he can stop Boyd and Cora without killing them, but the hunter refuses. Scott appears to give up, and he asks Chris for a ride. He directs him to the site of the murder. As they arrive at the public pool, a grieving mother and father are looking down at a body bag on a gurney. This changes Chris' mind. Really, that's all we had to do was show him a freaking dead body? Ugh. In the woods, Chris explains that Derek and Isaac are pretty much useless at tracking because they're focusing their energy on suppressing their wolf side under the full moon. And so he urges them to instead focus on their senses of smell, explaining that actual wolves can track prey up to 100 miles per day by scent. So we have Chris explaining, his wolf hunting tactics, and we skip over to her daughter, his daughter, and she going all huntress on us. She dropping blood, making what's going traps and stuff. She all gung ho. She ready. She about this. She this life. Anyway, then we have Boyd catching a scent in the one. He takes off to investigate. He even caught Allison's scent of blood. Okay. And aware that his daughter is using the exact technique he is describing. That's why he keeps flashing back between what he's saying to her. Chris explained that hunters can use the scent of blood to draw the werewolves to them from up 2 miles away. He said they'll also be either tracked with infrared, and he gives each of them some infrared type glasses. Derek says refuses to say he already has his own because it's an alpha and his eyes automatically turn red. Then he talks about the wild impulses. And the human intelligence, before they could be able to master sin, cover the tracks, and survive. Blah blah blah. They set out. Derek says 9 years. Says 9 years explained that he thought his sister died in the fire. Chris wants to know if Derek has like sin on her because it's his sister. Derek shakes his head and no, and he asks how confident is he in his skills. He's playing most of the time. He's trying not to think about all the things he can smell. Chris explains that werewolves like to tear people apart. Unlike wolves who hunt to eat, Boyd and Cora are hunting for the pleasure of the kill, for some primal apex predatory satisfaction that comes from the ripping of warm bodies to bloody shreds, and there's no telling what desire will be sated. Oh, that's comforting. So they think the school is empty because they want to trap him. They want to trap him in a room. Unfortunately, it's not Ellie because Blake is in her classroom at her desk working. It's at night. What work do you have to do at school? Take your work home. Oh my goodness. It's like everybody has a death freaking sentence in this freaking episode. It's like, really? So then Chris brings out these ultrasound emitters that's gonna, burst this high pitched sound that pretty much will drive them in the direction they want to, because they're wolves. They can hear, animals can hear certain things that we can't hear. Boyd and Cora respond as expected, and they run toward the school. Styles follows Lily home, and in her room she explains that she doesn't know how she found the body, and she says she don't even know where she was till she got the car. And they realize the last time this happened to her was when Peter was controlling her back in season 2. Speaking of Peter, we end up seeing Peter in the woods, and he explains that D, because I cannot pronounce his alpha's name, was playing with Derek to kill Boyd and Cora, and that he wants Derek to get rid of his baggage, making it easier for Derek to join the Alpha Pack. Peter suggests that Derek get up the chase. He wonders aloud how much damage they can do, saying, "So they are off a few homeless people, a drunk stumbling out of a bar. Too late, so what?" He says Scott can live in his morally superior world of black and white, while Peter and Derek live in the shades of gray. Then he points out that if Derek did kill Boyd and Cora, he could always make more werewolves. Then we get McCall's mom, Scott's mom, Melissa. She gets Styles to the hospital to look at the dead body and find a pool. She discovers 3 different causes of death: strangulation, exanguation through a cut to the throat, and a massive blow to the head. She points out that this is the second body to come in with the same wound. So meaning, through those 3 evidence, it wasn't a wolf attack. Then while we go skin over to Chris and the boys and the wolves, he realizes that they have these fireflies is going, and he says that the species that lives in California are not bioluminescent. So something is going on here that we do not know about. Is about to get real. The trapper lay at school, but Boyd and Cora decided to go to the roof instead of going inside the building. Back to Melissa and Styles. She pulls back the sheet on another gurney to reveal Styles' friend Heather. She didn't realize that was his friend, so she couldn't cover the sheet. And then Styles ended up realizing that some of these the thing that these victims have in common was the fact that they're virgins. The guy had a purity ring on. Heather was trying to lose her virginity at her birthday. And if you remember the girl in the tent, she's gonna come right back up again. We back to the school. We have Allison on the school bus firing flashbang arrows at the ground near Boyd and Cora, driving them inside, and Isaac ends up closing the door after them. Derek and the rest manage to drive the pair down to a boiler room and lock the door, trapping them inside. Scott ends up realizes that as they trapped them inside, there's 3 heartbeats, not just 2. They figure, oh God, somebody's trapping the wolves. Oh my God, this is not good. Mrs. Blake is in the supply area stocking up on copy paper when she hears a bump in the dark. Back at the hospital, Styles questions Kaylin about her date in the woods. He is trying to find out if it was to be Emily's first time, and Kaylin confirms that it would have been. Go back to Derek. He says he'll go in, so he ends up in the boiler room. So he ends up facing off with Boyd and Blake, and they literally are tearing him apart. I'm like, oh my goodness! For a minute, I did not think he was gonna make it. I didn't think he was gonna make it, but he doesn't fight them back. He just holds them so they'll focus on him and leave the human alone. So it finally ends up being morning. So woo 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 woo. And so the sun rises. We end up seeing Derek kneeling with Boyd and Cora lying unconscious on the floor. Derek tells Sky and Isaac to take him out while he sees some Mrs. Blake. Bloodied and bruised, Derek extends his hand to the frightened woman. Their eyes meet. Styles takes Scott to the morgue to see Heather's body. As he explains his theory about all the victims being virgins, the sheriff finds Emily's body tied by the neck to a tree with her throat cut and the other wounds common to all the victims. Styles calls it the threefold death and says it's a human sacrifice. So now we got human sacrifices and fireflies that's native to California that's not supposed to glow, but they're glowing. What is going on in the scene? Wolf? Like, I'm curious. Human sacrifices? So far, it's becoming a really good season. So that was pretty much a review of episode 3, Fireflies, for the season 3 of Teen Wolf. Next episode will be titled Unleashed, and it has been there's going to be at least 12 episodes within this season. So now I'm curious about this whole what is it again? The threefold death. I might end up looking that up because I'm highly curious about this. So I will see you guys next Monday and Sunday. Deuces.